Live, and this is on air. All right. So, hello. We're live now. So everything we say is going to be broadcasted for everybody to hear and people to watch afterwards. And usually everybody watches at some point within the month. I'm really glad to have you all. It's Barry for the first time from between Houston and Los Angeles, depending where he's at. We've got Christopher from Newcastle, Gateshead, somewhere there. It's in England, Northern England. We have Gigi from Toronto in Canada, and we have John from Sacramento, California, and we have Nikos, who moved recently from Athens, Greece to Manchester, United Kingdom, and he is on the same side of the table next to me. So this is the coffee little thingy next to him. That's me. I'm coffee addict. And I'm Tommy. So today we are here to discuss a little bit about the future of the Musicpreneur community. Basically, a month ago it was 50 of us on the Patreon page. Now we are 75, and that is very interesting. More and more people join. I mean, I had sent an email to a few people on the mailing list, and I said, I'm looking for 10 more people to join. And then 40 people actually asked to join, and then from them 25 people joined, and there is more people to join in the future. So that is getting quite interesting. I see there is interest of creating some kind of mastermind group to help each other. And I was thinking, how can I'm initiating this, right? I'm not the person to guide everybody. Everybody has great advice. I'm pretty sure I have some good advice to give, but I'm pretty sure everybody else has great advice. So I was thinking, how can I connect each other? So Gigi can help somebody else with her experience, and Christopher can help John with his experience, So I don't have to be all the time around, and each other can brainstorm about each other's problems. So that was what I was thinking about during the last month. How can I bring these people together? 75 people, that's a pretty powerful group. It's 75 people that give a fuck. That is very important. It's difficult to find somebody that cares today, and the fact that there is 75 people that deeply care about this and they declare it, we just need to make sure we take advantage of all this opportunity. So I would like to start by saying a few things about how I see the future, and then we're going to open it up so you can start suggesting your own ideas, and maybe we can make this worthwhile. I was talking with a patron a month ago from Germany. His name is Toby, and he told me, hey Tommy, so why don't we do something like a mastermind group where it's going to be 10 or 15 people. They're going to meet every month regularly. We have Greg joining us. Hello, Greg. Greg is from Orlando, California, from Orlando, Florida. Yeah, correct. Greg, hello. All right, Greg, can you hear us? Can you talk? No, it's mute now. All right. So, well, as I was saying, he suggested that we could create a group of people, so not all 75, but 15, 10 people, like clusters, helping each other with their tasks. So somebody could be on the hot seat, 4 people on the hot seat every month. And each month we could have a subject as a theme. So let's say during the next 2 months, we have the theme of audience. How do we grow an audience? What issues we have about an audience? What does the audience need? So Barry, because you are not an active musician, you're a supervisor. So I would like also your feedback on that, how this could apply to you as an idea, because it's still an idea, right? So his idea was that, why don't we create clusters where every month or every 2-3 months we have a theme, and then these group of people, they meet regularly, maybe once or twice a month. A few of them are on the hot seat, they spend 10 minutes explaining their problems, and then everybody else starts brainstorming, giving solutions. Having a team of 15 people will mean that 10 of them will be there every month, because we're going to have the dates in advance. And this way, having 10 minds brainstorming about your own problems is better than having just your own mind. you know, with all the fears and all the insecurities and all the issues, the daily small issues that we have. So this is what he suggested, and if you think about it, if we have a different theme every 2 or 3 months, within a year we might have 5 themes that we have exhausted, and we have 10, 15 minds thinking about these issues, these challenges, and at the same time they grow and they know they're accountable to each other. So I found this is quite interesting. Before we move to something else about the community, I would like to open the discussion, and I would like to hear what you think about this idea in terms of having a mastermind group. And if you don't like what I just proposed through our German friend Toby, I would like you to counter-suggest something else that could work in your opinion. So who would like to speak up first? Just raise your hand and then unmute your microphone. All right. So I'm muting myself, and Barry. Barry, I think you can unmute. Okay, good.
Yeah, I've been, you know, the struggles that you guys are talking about, the reason I joined this group is because, you know, spending more time back in Houston where I grew up, the music scene's a mess, worse than when I left. And so I started networking groups and things like that and doing panels. I started my own music festival, a lot of things to help fellow artists. And I have 2 children that look like they're destined for the music business. The thing I didn't say is I actually am leaning towards going back to singing again, a little bit of a rebirth. I've got my company going, so now I'm going to go do a singer-songwriter night on Saturday night, you know. So I'm very interested in the artist thing, even though it isn't how I make my living right now. The only thought I would say to refine what you're doing, one of the things we'd looked at was having these small groups, but maybe putting in a group of experts, like maybe there'd be 3 ringers on a particular subject, and then the idea of the hot seat is to go in and maybe to take, you know, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 people per week and say, here, we're doing social media. Here's 3 social media experts, and everybody can chime in, but it's very focused on a particular problem going into it, and with people who would have the answers too, because there's nothing like the blind leading the blind. You know, if you have a couple ringers in there, I think that would be beneficial. And I will mute.
Okie dokie. I just wrote it down, and I think it's a brilliant idea. Yes, I mean, obviously having, you know, more brains than just yourself, it's useful, but having a diversification of brains, of kind of brains, is also helpful. So I think you have a very valid point, Barry. So I've written it down. I need to think about it, because having an expert, obviously, that is not a part of the group to join, you know, so they can spend their time. I need to think about who these people are going to be. So if it's the same people all the time, you know, it's all about the logistics. But the idea is really great. I'll let it sink in. So what does everybody else think? Barry, yes.
I was going to say, if you need help with that, that's part of what we do. We run a thing called the Band Boot Camp. And so I bring in experts to speak to our people every other month in our networking group. And then once a year, like our management panel this year was Rick Barker, who was Taylor Swift's first manager, Vicki Hamilton, Guns N' Roses, Poison, Motley Crue, Dale Penner, who discovered Nickelback and got them their first deal, and Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's dad. And so we brought in some really killer people. And I have a Rolodex of some good guys that could help. And there's some people you just got to get them to buy into, hey, we're not paying you for this. Can you give us 30 minutes or an hour, you know, to talk about what you do, you know, what you're an expert at.
Okay. Very, very fair point. So I would like you to share this link with us, Barry, in the chat, if you don't mind. So we have Osmar, who joined as well. He is from Brazil. Hello, Osmar. Can you talk so we can? Yeah. Okay, great. So we can hear you. So we'll start the conversation. I'm pretty sure you will catch up, you know, as you listen. So I'm muting you now so we can have one person talking at a time. Great. I think Gigi, she wrote, so you like the idea of 10, 15 people, but you like an expert to guide it. Can you elaborate on this, Gigi? Can you unmute yourself and elaborate more?
Did that work?
Good. Yeah.
Hey. No, I was just clarifying what Barry was saying. Essentially, it sounds like he likes the idea of the groups, but he wants an expert to give some sort of guidance to, or some structure to what the group would be working on. I think that's a great idea, but again, I think Gregory mentioned what would qualify an expert. So that is a good question, depending on what the theme is, who gets to say who knows what they're doing in that specific area.
And the thing that concerns me a little bit is that once we bring more people, it becomes a little bit more complex. And what I had in mind, and the way we discussed it, is that we keep things as simple as possible and very grassroots, you know, so we can be helping each other like a community. When you start a scene, you know, you are in New York, and then all of a sudden Talking Heads comes out, you know, and then they start organizing themselves. I mean, this is how I was thinking about it. Although Barry has a great point, you know, because having an expert, you always have a very valid opinion from a person from the industry, and usually musicians are looking from a more romantic side on how they get things done. So this is, yeah.
I have one question though. These 10 to 15 person groups, would they be grouped by area, like where people are in the world, or would it be grouped by what kind of music we're doing? Is there any rhyme or reason to how these groups would be formed?
I think the more random they are, the better. Just Americans, you know, they just help each other, they know the scene, but they don't hear the Germans having something valid to say, or the Australians.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, in my opinion, diversifying it can be really good. And we have some experts that are not musicians in the group, like Barry and some other people. So this can be a good start, you know, having people that are purely on the business side.
Gotcha. And I assume reconfigure as needed if that came up.
I mean, we can always get started and then we see how things go. You know?
That's the way to do everything.
Okay, what do we have? We have Greg that has been shouting in the mute, and also John that raised the hand. Who wants to go first? Whoever, unmute yourself first and go.
I am muted. I am unmuted. Okay. Hi, everybody. Good to see you, man. Again, I know you were on vacation for a bit, so good to have you back. I just wanted to quickly comment about my thoughts on the experts and all that. I think that having the idea of having somebody who's an expert based on the old music industry is more of a hindrance and just a good idea because it feels like it would be cool than really something that's valid and useful, because that old stuff just doesn't work anymore. So having people in the trenches actually figuring it out and doing it in real time and providing each other with feedback based on what works today would be way more valuable than having a talking head that was successful 10 years ago or whatever. So even though I think that it's a good suggestion, I just think that for this context, I think that having somebody who wasn't would be more effective. That's just my personal opinion. So that's all.
I think it's not to say that, for example, Rick Barker doesn't have modern opinions. I think he has very valid points, and they work practically, you know, and I'm pretty sure Barry has the same, and other experts. Right. I think it's all about the moderation, obviously. You know, we cannot really dismiss one side or the other. We can also say that a lot of musicians don't really get a grasp of what's going on in the music industry, and that's why we don't have a lot of successful musicians. But yeah, I think it's all about the moderation. Giving it a try is not going to hurt, definitely. The easiest thing is that we get started without the experts, or with the experts that are already on the Patreon page, and then we see what additions we can make, you know, so we can just get started and not leave this idea as a good idea to be fulfilled in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think John had something to say as well. By the way, Barry or Gigi or Greg and Chris and Nicholas, whenever you want to jump, you know, if you want to say something again, just, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, what I like about Barry's idea is I think it's, and I feel like it's in the spirit of just contributing your knowledge, just like each of us could do. You know, some of us don't know what we're expert in, some of us do know what we're expert in, and I don't think what Barry's suggesting makes it less democratic or anything like that. But you know, like I'm very interested in people who are maybe very accomplished in certain areas, sharing their knowledge, and I think we'd all be doing that anyway. So if we had, you know, like you said, it's the moderation and maybe the grouping. Oh, I was going to bring up, I like the idea, maybe you could, if they were like set up for smaller groups like 15, and depending on whatever regions, or I don't think it would be that, but whatever the group is, you know, maybe you could jump groups if you felt like, hey, you know, I'm not getting a lot out of this group, I want to jump to that group, you know. That's just a crazy idea. But what I really like about the mastermind idea is the accountability side of it too. For those of us who are working on, like I said, I'm kind of going back and really looking at my songwriting. So I'd love to be in a group with some people who are more accomplished in songwriting, or could give me advice, you know, and that kind of thing. But you know, not necessarily a songwriting workshop, but just, you know, like some of the stuff Barry mentioned about you know, music publishing and music licensing and those types of things, what he does for a business. I'd love to hear, you know, and connect with Barry and find out more about that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's always logistics, right? It's always logistics.
Well, logistics, that's correct. It's all about getting it done, you know, because theoretically everything makes sense, but you need to think, what is the easiest thing I can do now so I can get started, but then how does it work with a vision, you know, of the long-term results that we want to have. So yeah, it's all about that.
I was going to jump in on terms of what Gregory said. Never do you bring somebody who's an expert who hasn't done it. If they haven't done it within the last 5 years, they're no longer an expert. So that was never part of it. One of the things I also agree with what Gigi said is having people. I agree with you because I have people all over the world, including people that work for me. So we do conference calls, and I've got the input from one of our guys in Germany is different than somebody in Canada. It's different. There are some similarities and some differences. There's a real benefit to crossing the pond, as it were. And in terms of grouping, I think the genre of music would be a great group, because one of the things that Rick Barker, as a particular guy that he does, is they'll have like a Tuesday club, and they'll get 10 or 15 people together strictly for the purpose of increasing social media numbers. So somebody will say, hey, I'm dropping a new single. Can you guys go all like it, share it to your friends, do this, that, and the other? And that's how all his teams, you know, they get incredible progress, because they have these small groups, and they do exactly what you're talking about, but strictly focused on social media. So if you expanded that out, where you had a group of different people saying, we're going to help on all kinds of subjects, and we're all into alternative, or we're all into this, I think you'd have the most crossover and balance with some diversity.
That is a very, very, very valid point, and thanks for sharing, Barry. I mean, cross-promotion, it does make sense. Having, you know, a group with the same kind of music or something similar, where your music might appeal to the other person's music, to the other person's fans, that can be very useful. Yeah. Go back from vacation from Greece, right? So I think I'm thinking Greek, trying to speak with a Cockney British accent. So excuse my French if I don't make it sometime. All right, so it makes sense. But also, if you think about it, Barry, it's going to be 75 people and more on the same group. It doesn't matter if the 10-15 people of the group are the same kind of music, because everybody else from the 75 can actually share it. So we could have something like when somebody wants to release a new piece of music, we can always see who can promote it and how we can do this. So we can have some cross-promotion, obviously with moderation, because we don't want to share other people's music all the time. But still, that's a great idea. It's a very valid point. I didn't think about it, to be honest, and now it's really good to have it. So far, I've written down having experts, starting grassroots, starting now, having accountability and motivation, what John said, and cross-promotion. These are some very valid points. Any other point before we move to the next bit, which will start like connecting with what we're saying right now?
The one thing I would just tag on to what you did, there is a cycle when it comes to artists. You're either writing in pre-production, you're in the middle of making your record, you're in the middle of setting up your record, or you're marketing your record. So you could also do the groups based on where you were at in the cycle. You know, hey, you know, you don't need to hear about great recording studios if you just finished making, you know, your record's done and in the can. You don't need to know about the greatest place to master, the mastering's done. So you might, as another way to organize your groups, be organized by the part of the process that you're in. I'm trying to sell a record, I'm trying to tour, I'm trying to make a record. Those are all fraught with different problems.
So let me say, I've just put a question mark on grouping. How are we going to group, you know, these 10, 15 people? What are the criteria? I do believe in diversification. I'm a big fan of that. Randomizing never hurts. It actually helps a lot many times. But yeah, we need to think about this for sure. Greg, you want to say something else?
Yeah, just really quick. How large, Max, were you thinking of making the individual groups? Because, like, I mean, traditionally a mastermind is a really tight group of people who are intimately aware with one another's goals and visions, and they hold them accountable and be brutally honest with them whether or not they're lining up with that. So it's like a really, really close, tight-knit, and very intricate relationship that has to be, like, respected and honored. So if that's not there, you don't get that honesty and that connection. So
I agree. I agree. Great point.
I'm just wondering how, like, that would
small
be.
groups. Yeah, that's why I was thinking between 10 and 15 people, because if you have 10 people, 3, 4 of them might not be able to join, and then you got 6. You know, so 2 of them are on the hot seat, and then you eventually get 4 new opinions. While if you're 15, 10 might be every time, and then you get, you know, different opinions. I'm trying to think about it this way. Not everybody will be able to make it. In every group. Okay, so experts, smaller groups, starting grassroots, starting now, accountability and motivation, cross-promotion, how do we group people? All right, so these are great things about the mastermind. We can always brainstorm and think about new things, you know, we can talk by email. Now, the next thing that I have in mind is about the community itself. So I'll tell you my vision and what's going to be in 2 years. So I got a startup loan of around £7,000. That should be around $10,000 or something, or euros or something like that. And we've started building a platform. Are you aware of Quora? Who is aware of Quora? Just raise your hand. Quora, okay? No, GG. All right. And Osmar, can you hear us? Okay, not sure. So Gigi is not aware of Quora. Quora is a place where people ask questions and other people answer them, and then they vote on the answers, and the most popular answer goes on top. That's it. It's like a place, it's not a blog, it's a place where you ask a question. And that was a story a year and a half ago. There were free workshops from Google, and there was one on talking with investors. So I'm like, okay, I run Darker Music Talks, where we meet every month and we have a conversation, we have an expert, and it's well curated, you know, with a camera filmed going on YouTube. So I thought, okay, let me see what's the power of that for an investor. And I go there, and this Spanish lady asks me something like I didn't think about. She says, have you thought about creating a platform where people will ask questions online? And I'm like, it's like Quora? She says, yes. Is there any Quora for the music industry? Like, no, nothing I can think of. Basically, she was suggesting that we build Darker Music Talks 24/7. Something where you don't have to wait every month to be in London to meet the people physically. You can ask a question anytime and people can answer. So it got stuck in my mind, and now is the right time. Now we're building this platform, and it's going to be out for beta version. You're all going to have access. All the patrons are going to have early access. So you can start being the first people that will answer the questions. We will start checking out the bugs, you know, or anything else that might be useful. And you're going to be the early adopters. But this platform, the important thing, in 2 years, it's going to have 10,000 musicpreneurs. There are going to be 10,000 people all over the world that are going to be either experts, part-time or full-time musicians, or musicians that will be part-time musicians really soon, but they are very passionate about it. So a lot of filtering, a lot of People will join only if they apply, and this process is going to be very moderated. Not everybody will be able to join, and there's going to be 10,000 people. So imagine 10,000 people making money from the music industry one way or another, having practical things to share. One thing is that a community where anytime you can go ask a question and people will answer, and there's going to be voting. The top answer goes on top. On the other side, there's going to be a channel. Are you aware of Meerkat or Periscope owned by Twitter? Just raise your hand. Yes? Great. So imagine about Periscope where a different person from a different part of the world will take the mic for 6 hours or 4 hours and will start sharing whatever they feel is useful for the community. So like a 24/7 stream of information. So anytime you can see a guy from Argentina is having a cool project, he gets the mic for 6 hours. He goes online whenever he wants, whatever she wants, and then you can join in and you start watching and you see things happening in real time. I want people to see the musicpreneurs all over the world existing and doing things right now, because I'm pretty sure there are so many of us around the world, but we just don't know about them. But I meet them every day. And if I meet them in London, it's going to be cool if Gigi in Toronto knows about them. And the same thing for Osmar in Brazil, and why not Christopher in England? So this is a vision, 24/7, having live streaming, Periscope style kind of knowledge, and also 24/7 asking questions, getting answers from people over the world that do this practically. So this is another bit which has to do with the mastermind. So the mastermind is not going to be for everybody. It's going to be for a few people, the early supporters, the people of Patreon. I'll see how this is going to work with logistics. But now that we have the new data about the vision in 2 years from now, I would like you to make up your mind again and start thinking how this could work as an ecosystem. Any suggestions, any early thoughts? Please raise your hand, unmute yourself, and take the mic.
I just have a quick question. Once with the Periscope stuff, it's up afterwards. It stays up. Would there be a way for the knowledge base or whatever they're doing? Would there be tagging so that later on you could go back and find the knowledge you were looking for or the experience?
That's a great question. The platform, the Quora-style platform, definitely. It's going to be tags. We already thought about all these things. You will be able to archive it, to filter, to follow specific tags, kind of information you want. It's going to be all about filtering, and it's going to be all about personalization. These two criteria. You can personalize exactly what you want to follow, and you can filter what you want to follow. This is the first bit. The second bit is still a question. I really like the ephemeral nature of Periscope, where if you don't watch it now, you cannot participate in the chat, and in 24 hours it goes, and it disappears forever. So I like this because it will create some kind of urgency. Having all these stream of video forever, it's quite difficult to archive afterwards, because somebody might talk about whatever they want, whatever they're working on right now. So this is still a question, but I really like the ephemeral nature of Periscope, where everything vanishes after a while.
It puts more value on it too, because there's not as high of a quantity, so there's more urgency on it too. So I just wanted to say I agree with you on that. That's all.
Yeah, but my thing was going to be, the only question I have is, if you're going to put the effort to do this and follow, I'm in the studio doing this or we're doing that, to lose that information because somebody else had a gig or somebody else had a deadline, you're letting a lot of knowledge go down the drain. That would be that would be the shame to it. I think having it evaporate at a certain time period would be great, but I don't know if instantly is that time period. Like, if you could say, got to watch it in 1 day, 2 days, you can put some sense of urgency where there's a reasonable expectation that I can watch it, despite the fact that everyone's busy and there's different time zones, especially when you're doing worldwide. Somebody in Australia is a nightmare for somebody in LA, or Malaysia, even worse. There's 8 hours where we're both awake, So I would just caution that.
Very valid point. I mean, it's something to think about for sure. Again, it's all about the logistics. Because if you think about it, archiving all this information, then there's going to be too much information, and we're not sure if people will watch it. Now think about YouTube. Anybody can upload a video. It doesn't mean it is getting watched, right? So this is another problem. When you got too much information 24/7, how do you filter that? I think that's a nice problem to have, obviously, but again, it's a very, very, very valid point. Yeah,
idea, just suggestion, because we're brainstorming here. What if you did it, since you're doing a platform that's similar to Quora, where people upvote it? What if you have a certain amount of time to where if people don't get a certain amount of votes on this piece of content, then it goes away? And that's the criteria, because people are showing and proving that it has value. So therefore you would say, okay, well, it's valuable, so we'll keep it. Just a suggestion.
The Quora platform will keep everything, because it's going to be written questions. Barry was talking about the videos, which is a little bit more difficult to archive or categorize, because in a video you can say whatever you want.
Right.
So that is a very valid question. In Quora, it's already decided. It's not Quora, it's going to be Darker Hub. Everything will stay there forever. Now it's all about filtering and making sure the right questions get on top, or they appear as classic questions. John wrote blab.im. What is that, John?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, blab.im is something I'm kind of checking into. A lot of people are starting to use it instead of Google Hangouts on the air for one thing. But it only lets you have 4 people at a time, but then you can swap people in and out. But it's kind of a cool new. I mean, it's similar to what you know, Periscope and I forgot the other one all of a sudden, but Meerkat, right? Yeah. But you know, but it's kind of, you know, disassociated from Twitter and so you can broadcast from anywhere. I don't know, just you might want to look into that as far as if you're looking at a platform for the video. I don't know if you're building that into what you're building already, but I think that's kind of cool. And I love the whole idea. I think that's fantastic. You know, I think off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that's like Quora just for musicians, besides some of the forums out there. You know,
there is not a single place in the world where you like, I want to find where full-time musicians hang out, and I want to learn from them, or I want to work with them. There's not a single place. This is what we're building. It's going to be a database. On the back end, it's going to be social media, so you can connect with everybody else around the world and collaborate and do whatever you want. There's going to be forums and stuff. There is a cute cat in Christopher's lab. Yeah, it left. On the same time, it's going to be a place where you crowdsource knowledge. Anybody can ask a question, and credible people making money from music, a full-time living or part-time living or experts, they apply. So who hasn't talked? We have Osmar, we have Christopher, and we have Nikos, and you haven't shared your opinions with us. Would you like to make a comment? Okay, Christopher.
Sorry about that. Hello. It's 2 things. Firstly, there's always going to be the problem of archiving to the best bits from something like this. So yeah, the idea of maybe people giving a thumbs up as it goes along, or you know, liking a certain section, and then somehow mechanically you know, collecting that bit of footage, or 25 seconds on either side or something, then you could manually curate a best of or something like that. But if you're talking about something that's going out all the time, then you don't necessarily, you know, maybe it's not feasible to curate that amount of data, and that's the whole point. But there was something else. I'm not okay. We've got this hub of people asking questions and getting replies which are curated and ranked. But how does that feed directly into this idea of this, you know, 4-hour Periscope style live stream thing? Like, is that a separate thing? Is it the same thing? Can you unpack that a little bit?
That is a separate thing. So we're building the platform, the Quora-style platform. We're building this. So there's going to be tools of asking questions and having something like the Quora thing, and also having social media where people will connect with each other on the back end, if you remember. So we're building this actively. The other bit is going to be, we're going to be using a platform, you know, like Periscope. So it's going to be our channel on Periscope. There's not going to be our own platform building that, right? So that's the initial idea. Things will change, obviously. Darker Hub comes first. We build this, then I let you in, then we start testing things. You give us more opinions. We have more groups like that. And then we start thinking, how can this 24/7 kind of stream of knowledge work? And that's going to be another thing. So 2 different platforms.
Yeah, great. Well, that's awesome. It just strikes me that it needs to be nimble. Like it needs to be like like lean startup. I guess that's part of the way they're coming from. But it just needs to stay grassroots, I guess, as it grows. So you're gonna have to figure out as you go along to get a steer on it. So, okay.
Exactly. Right now, I'm just working with hypotheses, and yeah, I think it's good to know that. Yeah, it's grassroots. It's the lean startup way of thinking. We get it started, and then we see what will work. What will work or what needs to be improved in the future. All right, Osmar or Nikos, would you like to share your opinion with the whole vision? Okay, wait, Nikos, I need to mute myself.
Hey, yeah. About the video platform, having 2 platforms, of course, Periscope will be embedded in the Dark Hub, right? If you want to avoid using Periscope, you could maybe recycle the videos in a way that some people could see them in a limited length, maybe. Let's say 4, 5, or a week, days. So if I upload my video today, it will be broadcasted again limited times, maybe once per 2 days for a week. So anyone who didn't see this, he would have a chance to see it somewhere in the next week. That way, either then, after the week expires, either you can take the video, record it, and maybe re-upload it in a private channel in YouTube or Vimeo, so that you'll have the archive, and you'll have the urgency that you wanted, because you could broadcast it again in hours of another time zone for the Australian people maybe to watch it as well. And that's all, actually. That's my idea. I don't know how you think about it, but the only problem is that you have to create a video platform that will be in the Darker Hub and not from outside website. That's all.
Well, then you could also use Gregory's idea of having the activity, how many people watch this, how long do they watch, and that would give you an idea as it grew, what would be the first things to look at. You could use, it'd be like instead of crowdfunding, it'd be crowd selection, for lack of a better word.
Crowd selection, that's a great word.
Based on what was useful too, like what people found the most use out of. So
I really like it. I think there is a point here. Looping videos that are quite popular. There is a function in Periscope. I'm not sure about Meerkat, but Periscope, if you are streaming the video, it's getting saved afterwards in your archives. So if we stream the video through the channel of Darker Hub, then we keep every video, which we can upload again on another channel. So it makes sense that there is a YouTube channel that will host the most popular videos. And Barry, yes, there are hearts. You can throw hearts at the person's stream. So if you like what they do, obviously we need to let them know that if you like it, just heart it. Exactly, put a heart on it, put a ring on it. And the most popular videos will be uploaded permanently on the channel, maybe permanently, or in the BBC kind of style where they upload it for 30 days and then it's getting deleted. So the Foo Fighters, their campaign, where they went around the States and recorded a different song in a different city, that was on BBC iPlayer for 30 days, and then it was off. So there was an urgency to watch it. We have some options. That's pretty encouraging already. So thank you for contributing to that. I think what Barry, Greg, and Nico said, it all makes sense in total. And yeah, I've written down loop videos and select the most popular ones as a way of filtering them. Great. All right. We've got cool ideas already. Osmar, would you like to drop your 2 cents, or would you like me to go to the next one? I think you have to unmute yourself from the top somewhere.
Now you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I just don't get it, the part that you say about something like the people 6 hours with the mic on the hand. I just don't get exactly what it would be.
So Periscope, basically you have your phone, you have like something like an iPhone, and you have it here, and you're like, okay, hello, so now we are live from Argentina, and we're having a local festival here, and you change, and then you show what's on the camera, show around, and then you start talking. You just use your iPhone. It's just an application, no desktop. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
So with the quality, that it's involved.
Okay, but in general, I think it's really a great idea, and I don't feel like I have something more to contribute than the other opinions.
Okay.
For now. Okay.
Great. All right. That's good. We start getting some consensus. So the last bit is we will start having probably some kind of allies. As you may or may not know, I started teaching in 2 universities. One is in London and one is in Valencia. The one in Valencia is Berkeley. So I will be teaching in the artist development program. And that's really great because there seems to be a lot of interest from the academic world on musicpreneurship. Also in September, we're going to launch the MOOC, a free MOOC on how to be a musicpreneur, in collaboration with another lecturer from Westminster in London. So this means there is a lot of interest from the academic world to study how we can document the knowledge about musicpreneurship. It's very encouraging. There might be, I'm just dropping it out as a hint, there might be some kind of evolution in the future. Universities might start asking, hey, how can a musician become a startup? Which is a good thing. Let's see where it's going to go. We might have some allies in the future. Now, the last bit. If you are aware of a book called Fooling Houdini, have you heard of it? No? All right, I'm the only one interested in magic tricks. I like impressing people, so I do magic tricks. Disappeared. Now it's still here. So I was reading this book, and basically this book, it's a magician. It's a person that is a practitioner in magic, and he is explaining while he's learning how to become a better magician what he is doing and how he's learning and the research that backs everything that he is doing. And that's very interesting. It's a narration, it's a hero that narrates his personal story, which could be fictional, but still we learn along the way. So I was thinking that, okay, Tommy Darker is not my real name. It's a persona of the ideal version, artistic version of mine. And I don't talk about politics, I wear only specific kind of clothes. I'm a specific version of myself because it represents a vision, right? This needs detachment from ego and a lot of things which, okay, we don't have to go through now. But I was thinking that Tommy Darker as a persona, representing every single one of you, could be the person writing this book, representing this community, where there is a narrative, and eventually everybody, it's a crowdsourced book, where everybody will contribute, and there is a person that will go around different places learning about musicpreneurship. Because I quit my job, I quit the army job, I was then working for NATO 3 years ago to focus on music, so I can breathe and live around music forever. And it seems starts becoming real. So that is my absolutely #1 and only goal in life. The good thing about this is that I don't mind traveling, I don't mind doing research, I don't mind giving up a few things to focus on music. And I'm pretty sure by creating this community, a lot of people are getting connected. In January, I will probably go back to my country for my musical project because I will start merging the Western kind of music with Eastern music, and specifically Mediterranean traditional Balkan music. this is going to have a lot of interesting results, because I will be focusing on understanding how music works, what makes music survive from the old years till today, and on the same time I will be publishing a lot of stuff that I'm doing practically, and it's going to be 100% of the real world. There's not going to be any theory, it's going to be only practical stuff that I'm doing right now. So there's going to be some good excuse to start doing all these things, you know, asking questions, answering questions from all over the world, sharing stuff, trying them, connecting with each other. I've done this, you know. So I think this trip is going to be a good excuse for every single one of us to unite towards completing this vision of the musicpreneurship. And eventually in 2 years we can have 10,000 people over the world doing the same thing, and we can start creating a global scene. This is the way that I've imagined things. This is my vision. They all start linking, you know, with one another. I'm not sure if I explained it correctly. I would like to hear what you think, whether this makes any sense or no sense at all. But I'm open to hear your opinion. This at the end could be like a book with a narrative where we are all protagonists and we all share knowledge. And eventually it's a cool story to follow and you learn something behind the story. Who would like to make any comment or say, Tommy, bullshit? All right, Barry.
Bullshit, man. No. No, it's part of one of the famous Asian quotes I like. If you want to climb a mountain, first help someone else. And there's never do you learn as much as you do by doing. There's all the theory. There's all I can sit in a coffee shop and talk about this. Until you face real challenges in the real world, there's a limited amount of knowledge gained. So nothing better. I mean, part of what I did when I started my music festival, because my clients are independent artists from all different genres and types, I included that in the festival, and I got to interact with. We had 2,500 bands sign up for 120 slots, so I was able to check out a lot of people, and we asked a lot of information about them. From do they have a manager? How many gigs did you play last year? What's your merch table look like? I mean, really detailed information, really so I could know the customer. So there's nothing better than going out and doing something, going, I'm facing this challenge, bring your crowdsource in to help you solve it, and everybody learns in the process. So you're not on drugs.
All right, that's great. I totally agree. To be honest, you know, the way that I have it in mind, it might seem like it's quite egocentric. It has nothing to do with me. It's not. I don't mind. I don't want to get rich. I don't mind becoming, you know, the protagonist. You know, it's not about me. I want to make it clear that I just want to be an excuse, you know, so people can just start like a global dialogue, right? So I don't care about personal fame or something. The book is Fooling Houdini, yeah. So Nikos wrote it by Alex Stone. And yes, so any other opinions? Anybody that means it that this is bullshit, and why? Scratching your throat, scratching your nose, scratching your lips, scratching your inexistent beard or your existing beard. And John wants to say something.
I like the idea. I think that especially I certainly personally feel rather isolated out here in Sacramento. Sacramento doesn't have a thriving music scene, or and I've played here. I played, you know, live around this town for a while, enough to get into the scene here. But I'm not going to be able to move to LA. I'm not going to be able to even, you know, move closer to San Francisco. So one thing I really appreciate about the whole thing you've got going here, Tommy, is just being able to connect with people like all of you out there. And I like that, you know, the idea, extending that into kind of I guess a narrative, like you said, a collective narrative. You know, I think what it is I just mean at the root of it, it's just everybody's, not just their knowledge, but like what Barry said about like your experience and such, that I wouldn't encounter unless Barry like wrote a book, you know, put it out there. And I mean, you know, it's just like kind of an opportunity for everybody to you know, who's got, like you said, who's got the same dream and vision of like this is what matters to me most in life is music and being a music artist, and doing that primarily, not as a hobby. And it's just that I like that idea.
All right.
I would say the one caution I would have is there's a lot of people that are angry, upset, feel like they trained to be a buffalo hunter and somebody's telling them there's no more buffalo. Because the music business here, the numbers say since in the States, since the census since 1999, the number of people who put down I'm a musician as my core business has dropped by 41%. So it's not our imagination that this is getting harder and people are having a rougher go. So the only thing you take a hit on by yourself, doing it yourself, is there's going to be people who are going to go, "You bastard! You're just doing this to make yourself famous off the backs of all of us. I should be the guy up there. You'll get a certain amount. I mean, you'll be able to curate them, and you should curate most of them out there. But you'll get some haters."
I don't mind. You can hit my persona with as much as you want. Personally, I don't really mind. If there is somebody that projects hate or frustration or grumpiness, it's the last person I will care about. I don't mind. Negativity, I don't like it. I would just repel it. That I only like hanging out with people that are positive and they see something of value. If they're jealous or if they're negative or whatever, I don't believe they will be expelled, by the community as a natural result. And I see that happening in London, where we have events every month. There is a few people that come over, they don't quite fit because they're negative or suspicious, and eventually they don't feel comfortable coming back again because everybody else in the community is very positive, and they help each other. And I see it's all about the culture. If the vision is about positivity and not about personal growth, if it's about me getting famous, eventually there's going to be some backlash and there's going to be a lot of negative things. If it's, as I say, a vision that is not about me and is about everybody becoming one step higher, then I think eventually only the positive people will survive. And I'm 100% positive about this because that's the only vision of the mission. Christopher, you're pretty quiet. Would you like to say something? Or Gigi as well, you were quiet as well.
Yeah, of course, forgive me, man. I've had a very busy weekend. I think that it's brave of you to lay it all out like this straight away, and I think that it would be easy to then say, "Whoa, like this is too much. This is too much stuff to try to achieve in one chunk." But actually, I think that it's so important to have the big overarching goal, because otherwise, how do you know what you're marching towards? So I think it's great. I mean, the question is, what's next? What happens between now and say, next month when presumably we'll chat again? What's the homework, Tommy?
Right. Okay. What's the homework? I can talk for myself, but now since I'm back on holidays, I'm going to start scheduling during the week. There's definitely things that will get done during the month, obviously, and ideally I would like to start this thing, the Mastermind. I would like to have the first session during the month. It's all about logistics, again, working 24/7 on these things, on the same time, making my own music, so working on my personal life as well. So we're gonna be in touch. I'm gonna get in touch actually with every single one of you, so we can talk during the month, and we'll see, what the next steps are. Gigi, would you like to say something? What you think about the whole vision? Whether you think it's feasible, and if you like it or not?
Sure. I haven't been jumping in just because, everything that needs to be said seems to be being said. Sounds like great plans, ambitious plans, which is pretty great. I tend to be the sort of person who's very reactive, so I'm busy doing a lot of things, but I don't tend to plan ahead very well. That's kind of my Achilles heel is planning. So this all sounds great. It's, I have no idea where I would even start with any of this, so I admire your ambition, and I'm more than happy to jump in and start doing these mastermind groups. I'm just, the how is probably where my brain has gotten stuck.
Exactly, like Christopher, yeah, it's all about taking one step at a time. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see that unfolding within the next months.
Gotcha.
Great, very glad to have you on board. You're one of the positive people that I have in mind, when we're talking about all this. Greg, John, Nikos, Osmar.
One of the things I like about these things is, like you said, man, you're so positive, and a lot of people just focus on the problem, I think, instead of trying to find the solution to it. And anything's possible. You just have to map it out and plan how to get there. So the vision's easy to convey, but the path is what's hard, determining how to get there. So I definitely see how it could work as far as, but getting there, I would love to learn more about it and what you got planned. So that's the only thing that I wanted to say. So
Great. I'm happy to see excitement about the next steps, and I'm glad to see that you're on board. So John, Nikos, Osmar, any last comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think that I like what you said about your persona and how that's out there. That's really interesting, and it's kind of something that that's what you're doing as an artist in a way too. You're creating a persona for yourself, especially a music artist. And like I said, there's everybody, each of us, and all the people involved, are kind of at different places on their journey. And like what you said about, Greg said about finding the path, that's something that I've really been dwelling in lately. What is the path I need to take? Can I find it in all this woods of confusion and things like that? And that sounds kind of out there, but that's really what we're talking about. So. The idea of, I guess if I say something with a little substance, it's going to be, I think, what Barry brought up about how it is really it's feeling difficult among the wider community. It's feeling like what he said about being trained as a buffalo hunter. I mean, that's great, because I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's ever been easy, and it's all, other ages and times, and seem, got rose-colored glasses and all that stuff. But I was going to say that I need some meat. I need to know, not with you necessarily, but just in my I need to know, like what you said, is there a path for me to be able to have financial freedom, or whatever you want to call it, to have the ability, and I'm somebody, I've got 3 kids, I've got a lot of other things going on. I've talked to you about that before. So, the idea of, I would love it to get to the rubber hits the road in some ways. But that's what I'm getting at. It's a little bit difficult because each of us has their own challenges. My challenges are different at this point than what maybe each of yours are. And I don't want to be another. You want to stand out. You want to zig when everybody else is zagging, and you want to do. You don't want to just follow what everybody else is doing in the music industry, say, or anything else. And so that's real important to me, is kind of hearing, hearing what everybody else has dealt with or has thought about these different things. So if somewhere in the book and the Mastermind there's a way to, at least match people up who are. Maybe have direct advice for each other's problems. That would be
practical
important.
Steps, and there is the practical steps. What are the next steps? What is the next practical strategy?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, John and Nikos and Osmar. Any last comments you would like to share with us? Yeah. Oops. Sorry.
Hello. Well, the whole thing is inspiring, I would say, for a lot of people. And, well, you did vanish pen this time, right? And what I have to say is that if, like Greg said, the journey is the hard part, actually. But if anyone emits negativity or something like that, something similar, we have, through your platform, the Darker Hub, make them see that we are all actually in the same place, and we have to take the the same steps to grow up and maybe do something that will stay in time. And the fact that we don't know who will be the next one who will manage this, it's something that they should consider, because with negativity, nothing grows. That's all.
Right, correct. Your comment is about culture, having a culture that will inspire everybody to be positive. And I think there is a positive sign with London and Darker Music Talks. There is a specific culture that started getting created within less than 2 years. I don't believe in positivity. If the intention of the whole construction is positivity and love and having a great vision for everybody, then I think the culture will come over. If it's authentic, I do believe in that. Great. And Ozma, would you like to make a comment before we wrap up?
Basically, can you hear me?
Yep.
Basically, it's like other people are saying, is the path that I'm most worried about. Maybe I can say that, and really is digging into this and see what's coming.
Right. Okay. I'm glad to see that there is some kind of consistency in that. What are the next practical steps? Yeah, Barry?
I was going to say, I have one last thing. Can you guys all see the link that I put in the chat box?
Not really.
Crap, I don't know am I doing it like I'm not familiar with how to use it? I just typed something in to you, I think, directly.
Yeah, just publish it or for everybody else.
How do you do that?
For me, the way that I see it now, if I type something, it's going to everybody.
Okay, great. So this is like part of what I do is I do reading. I'm up on the music business. I spend maybe 2 hours a day trying to keep up on it. This is an interesting article from a hedge fund that owns 1% of Vivendi Universal. And they got pissed off because they weren't paid on their stock options. So they sort of did a hostile move in the boardroom, and they said, we want you to take Universal Music and spin it off as a separate entity, because we want to sell it off. We want to blow it up. We think that streaming music and the music business is going to go through tremendous growth, and we think we can make a killing. And it has 4 pages of financials. Long story short, they are projecting that the music business, which is currently about $15 billion a year, with about 6.9 to 7.5 of it being recorded music. I've made a record. Now my record makes me money. They're picking with streaming being a lion's share of it, that the recorded music business by 2020 will go to $26 billion, which is essentially almost a doubling of the music business back to the days of the buffalo hunting. Streaming, it looks like these guys believe that streaming is going to be that missing thing we were looking for. Now, the major labels in Wall Street are trying to make sure indies don't get in on it, because there's a killing there, and they're doing some crazy stuff, which we can talk about later. But if you want a happy thought in all this sea of negativity, there are some people that are looking at this and thinking music's about to have a second renaissance financially. And our goal would be to get a piece of it.
Barry, because we don't see the link, if you don't mind sharing it again on the chat, and I'll make sure I include it on the description of the YouTube video and on Patreon as well.
Yeah, let's see if this
could I say, sorry, go ahead, man. Didn't want to interrupt
you. Now? Can you see it now, everybody, or not?
Not really, no.
How do I make it share? Dang it, man.
Can you
see it, Barry. I see it in the...
Is it the Blab link from earlier?
Yeah. Blab link, is that what it is? That's what I'm saying. Where else could I share it?
You can send it to me by email. I'm going to share with everybody else.
Isn't there a way to get it on this thing, though? There should be.
Are you in the group chat box, the blue one? Yeah. The icon's the blue one up there, and you can see. I put the Blab link on there. That's something else.
Okay, so just so we can wrap up and we can stop recording, so we can finish with the video. Barry, if you can send this to me by email, I'm going to share it with everybody else. So it's really great to hear everything you had to say. I think it was very constructive. I kept some notes. I came with some initial ideas. Now, what I've written down in terms of the mastermind is having some experts, having a smaller group, more concise group, starting grassroots, starting today, having accountability, motivation, and cross-promoting, and how are we going to group people in these groups. In terms of the community itself, the Quora-style Darker Hub and the Periscope kind of ephemeral video streaming, the question is, do we keep it ephemeral or do we maintain the videos? And there was a good idea about looping videos that are popular, seeing what is filtered in, what people love, and then looping it, keeping it on the channel in a consistent basis. And in terms of the academic side, we might have some allies helping us with the academic side of things, documenting knowledge. And at the end, the book, all this journey is about the practical steps, and there is an echo of how do we determine what the next step is. I think this is the meat of the conversation today. I'm going to share everything in the description. I'm going to copy everything you've shared on the chat as well, so we can get all the juice out of it. Music business, right? Okay, so here's the link. That's great. And guys, I think guys and girls, I think we've hit the hour mark. It's time to stop recording. So we're going to have a 1 hour video, a neat video for everybody to watch. Thank you. So Barry from LA, Houston, where are you now?
Houston.
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 Christopher from sorry?
So we say Houston down here, we don't put no H on it.
Oh, right, okay.
Houston, Texas. Yeah.
Yes, we have a problem. So Christopher from, is it Gateshead or Newcastle?
It's Gateshead.
In the UK, and Gigi from Toronto in Canada, Greg from Orlando, Florida, John from Sacramento, California, Nicholas from Manchester, UK, and Osmar from, is it Brasilia or Belo Horizonte? Where do you live, Osmar?
São Paulo, Santos.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry about that. All right, so nice to see you all. It's really nice. It was a very impromptu chat, it was decided at the last minute while I came back from holidays. But I'm very glad you made it. And we'll talk, I'll email every single one of you who want to talk more. Everything's getting started now. It seems that it's getting involved every day, and I'm really glad to have you on board. I'll speak with you personally, and I'll post everything on Patreon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.